Okay, we're continuing Hilchot Yom Tov. This is going to be our fifth shir in Hilchot Yom Tov. We're on page 130 in shir Gimel of the Tzurba Rabbanan Hilchot Yom Tov. And we are talking today, hopefully, with Hashem's help, we will be able to complete the sugya on Erev Tavshilin. So let us begin with one of the main sources of Erev Tavshilin, which is found in the Maseches Beitza. And we're in the second parak. So in your books, it's in page 130, source 28. Okay, and let's read the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Yom Tov, Shechal Liot Erev Shabbat. If you have a Yom Tov that falls on a Friday, so Thursday night, Friday, Lo Yivashel B'Tehila MiYom Tov L'Shabbat. The person may not cook on Yom Tov for Shabbat. Aval Mivashel Hu LeYom Tov. But he can cook for Yom Tov. Okay, so Shavuot was on Friday, Thursday night, Friday. He can cook for Yom Tov on Friday, but he cannot cook for Shabbat. Hotir, if he cooked a lot for Yom Tov and now he has leftover, very good. Hotir l'Shabbat, he can keep it for Shabbat. Now, says the Mishnah, ve'oseh tavshil me'erev Yom Tov, but if he prepared a tavshil, a cooked food, your Erev Tavshilin, he prepared a cooked food from before Shabbat, v'stomech alav l'Shabbat, he can rely on it to cook for Shabbat.
You're talking about right now Friday night to cook?
No, Thursday night, Friday.
You said Friday night.
Yom Tov came in Thursday night,
yes.
Friday. On Friday, I cannot cook from Yom Tov for Shabbat. Mishnah says if I make a tavshil before the Chag, then I could cook on Friday for Shabbat.
Friday night.
Friday day.
Friday day.
On Yom Tov, not on Shabbat. You never cook on Shabbat.
No.
Okay. Now, the Gemara says, continuing in the next source in 29, Mina Hanamili. Where do we know this from? Now, obviously, the concept of Erev Tavshilin is the Rabbanan. So the Gemara's question is, where is the Asmachta? Where is the pasuk that the Chachamim use to establish an Erev Tavshilin? Now, Amar Shmuel says, the Amar Krab, because it says in pasuk, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekadisho, Zochreu me'acher sheba lahashkiho. Remember the Shabbat, so it doesn't get forgotten. What's going on over here? When a Yom Tov comes right before Shabbat, there's a danger that people might eat all their foods for Yom Tov and leave nothing for Shabbat. So by setting aside a tavshil before Yom Tov, I'm setting aside something for Shabbat. The Gemara now wants to know, my Tama, what was the whole reason that the Chachamim made an Erev Tavshilin? So Amar Rava is going with Shmuel's derech, and he says, "Kedei sheyivror mana yafa l'Shabbos umana yafa l'Yom Tov." So a person will prepare a portion for Yom Tov and a portion for Shabbat. So I'll have enough food. But Rav Ashi comes and says, "Rav Ashi Amar, I'll tell you why we make an Erev Tavshilin. Kedei sheyomru ein ofin miyom tov l'Shabbat." So people should know that just like that, you cannot cook from Yom Tov on Shabbat. You have to have done something to allow you to cook from Yom Tov on Shabbat. And when they realize that cooking from Yom Tov Shabbat is only allowed via an Erev Tavshilin, kal v'chomer miyom tov lechol, so they'll know that you're definitely not allowed to cook from Yom Tov to a regular weekday. So the whole idea, says Rav Ashi, Erev Tavshilin, is to remind me I'm not allowed to cook from Yom Tov to a weekday. How are you going to remind me that? If I have to do something special to cook from Yom Tov to Shabbat, I'll realize that cooking from Yom Tov to the weekday is not allowed. That's Rav Ashi's reasoning for the Erev Tavshilin. Yes, sir.
The question is, if I'm cooking for from Yom Tov for Shabbat, and I'm going to make it, like, you know what, make it more for the weekday, a little bit left over. Is it okay or not? To make it more than you need.
So I think we spoke about it last time already. You can never mention that. If you're cooking and you start throwing things in, that's one thing. But if you're if it's all one action, it's fine. But if it's you're pronouncing and you're doing a dafka and you're saying I'm doing that, then that's going to be a problem. Okay, but let's continue in understanding the concept, the origin of Erev Tafshil. And the Rambam comes and says in source 30, why is it called an Eruv? It says, you know why? Heker, says the Rambam, we learned Erev Chatzeros, right? To make an Erev to go from one Rishut Yachid to another Rishut Yachid when they're not owned by the same person, right? Owned by different people. You have to make an Erev Chatzeros. Why do you make that? In order to remind us that you cannot go from one Rishut to another Rishut. So same thing. You need it for a heker. V'zikaron kedei shelo yilmudu v'yachshiru shemutu la'afas meyom tov ma she'ein nachol b'yom. V'lefikach nikra tavshil zeh eruvei tavshilin. So says the Rambam, since it works like in heker, like Erev Chatzeros, therefore it's called Erev Tavshilin. It's using the same lashon because it's a reminder for us. The Ravad, on his notes on the Rambam, he says, Hatam hazeh lena'arim. This Rambam's reason is for little kids. It's not the real reason. All right. He says the Rambam says it's all Erev. It's a borrowed word from Erev Chatzeros, just as called Erev. This is also called an Erev. And that's not true. Says the Ravad. Rather, why is it called an Erev Tavshilin? Why is it called Erev Tavshilin? Erev Tavshilin is called Erev Tavshilin. Who Erev Tzarchei Shabbat al Tzarchei Yom Tov la'asotam yachad. It joins. It's a mixture. It joins the needs of Shabbat with the needs of Yom Tov to prepare them together. It mixes Shabbat with Yom Tov. How does it mix that? So there is a note in the Shulchan Aruch. There's a ha'ara in the Shulchan Aruch. I want to say it's not the Ramah. We don't know exactly who wrote this note, but there's a note that says as follows: the Erev that you vashel and you bake something Yom Tov l'Shabbat. The nimtza shelo hitchil malacha beYom Tov ela gamar ota. The whole idea of Erev Tavshilin, says this note in the Shulchan Aruch, is that I started cooking for Shabbat already before. Now what I'm doing is just the final touches. It's not that I'm cooking on Yom Tov for Shabbat. I'm putting the final touches on Yom Tov for Shabbat, but it's already started from beforehand, and that's the lashon of the Rabbah. The Rabbah was like, I'm mixing Shabbat with Yom Tov. It's all an Erev. It's all joining together because I already started it beforehand. That's the way the Hara in the Shulchan Aruch views it. Now, there was a question that's asked often. What happens if I really prepared everything for Shabbat already before the Chag? Or, for example, I'm going to some place that they're taking care of everything. I'm just guest, right? Make Erev Tavshilin, don't make Erev Tavshilin, Tavshilin with a bracha, without a bracha. So let us take a look. There's also discussion if all I need to do is light the candle for Shabbat, right? Do I need to make an Erev Tavshilin? So let's take a look at Igros Moshe. Igros Moshe says, "Im kvar hechin kol ma shetzarich la'afat l'bashal tzarich Shabbos, v'gam sheyesh lo ner daluk." And he also has a candle lit, because some say you need to still make Erev Tavshilin if the candle is not lit, although Chumash says that's not true. Leika mitzvah lasot Erev Tavshilin. There's no mitzvah to do Erev Tavshilin.
For the guest.
If everything is ready, whatever case it is, whether it's a guest, whether it's your own house, if everything is ready, that I don't have to cook anything on Yom Tov for Shabbat. Everything's ready. I already froze everything's in the fridge. I'm good. All I have to put is on the blech. I'm done. In such a case, says the Igros Moshe, one who asks at the outset on Erev Yom Tov what he should do, whether he should prepare everything for Yom Tov such that he will not need to make Erev Tavshilin, providing also candle lit, or he should make Erev Tavshilin and he should cook something. Right? Says the Igros Moshe, if someone says, am I good preparing everything beforehand and not make Erev Tavshilin, or should I make something on Shabbat? Should I make Erev Tavshilin and Dafka make something on Yom Tov for Shabbat? Says Igros Moshe, tell him to make Erev Tavshilin and make something on Shabbat. Because sometimes what happens is, I'll say, I don't need to make Erev Tavshilin, I'm all ready. And then comes Yom Tov, and you say, "Oh, I want to make rice now. I want to make something extra." And where's your Erev Tavshilin?
So that's mean if it's guest, make it Erev
Okay.
Tavshilin.
So now, regarding that, so yes, when you're a guest, when you're in a hotel, when you're in your in-laws, your parents and stuff like that, so you can fall under your parents or whoever parent in-laws, whoever's house you're going, you can fall under their Erev Tavshilin.
No, they don't want to do Erev Shabbat, but I want to do in their house. Is it okay?
For them?
For myself.
You could.
Because I want to cook something for myself.
Hold on. Let me read it here a little bit. Give me a second. Yes, there's also a Baruch Levatala issue here. One who does not intend to perform the actual malacha for Shabbat should make Erev Tavshilin without a beracha. So if I'm not sure, I'm going to use melacha, make melacha, not make melacha, you should make Erev Tavshilin without beracha.
Just mean eggs and bread.
Put it together and you say, this is going to be my Erev Tavshilin, and if I need to cook anything, I cook anything. Because remember, a bracha is never me'akiv to the mitzvah. So here, it's a fake, I'm going to cook or not, I'm prepared or not, you go ahead. So thing, they say the same thing when you're coming to be a guest somewhere.
Who says this?
What?
No, who says this statement?
About not making the bracha?
Without a bracha. Make it without a bracha. Who says this?
He's bringing this here from the Birkei Yosef, Kaf HaChaim, or Litzion, Chamovadia, in Chazon Ovadia. He says as follows. Chazon Ovadia, page 277 in Yom Tov, that in a hotel where the owner will be making Erev Tavshil on behalf of those staying there, one would not have to make a separate Erev Tavshil. However, one who makes his own Erev Tavshil anyway should omit the bracha, since one is not required to make one for only lighting candles. Okay, Chamavadi's opinion is that for lighting candles for Shabbat, I do not need an Erev Tavshilin. So if there's any case where I'm not going to actually cook, or I don't think I'm going to cook, I make an Erev Tavshilin without a beracha. Okay? One has married children or guests staying in his home, they're included in that person's Erev Tavshilin. If guests are sleeping elsewhere, they should make their own Erev Tavshilin, but they should be careful. If they're going to be cooking, then they can make it with a bracha. So if you're not going to be cooking, then they should make Erev Tavshilin without a beracha. Okay?
But the guest,
you don't have to. You can rely on this. You want to make your own, you can make your own just without a bracha. Okay? Because you're relying on everything on them. So too, for girls in seminary, boys in yeshiva, the Rosh Yeshiva, the head of the seminary, they're there, they're relying on them for the food and stuff like that. So the Erev Tavshilin is done by the head person over there. If anyone wants to make their own Erev, they could without a bracha, just if they want it for themselves.
If you did it without a bracha, you're not allowed to cook?
Yes, you could cook.
You could.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you didn't make a bracha.
Yes, even if I'm in my own house and I have to make my own Erev Tavshilin and I didn't make a bracha, and I didn't even say the statement, but I prepared the food, I'm good. We'll see. We'll get to there. Okay. 1 and 6. Fine. So all right. Yeah. Because it has to be done. The whoever's taking care of everything, and he made the Erev Tavshilin. So that's it. I'm under his house. I'm under his roof. Yeah, 100%. Okay. Let's move on to the next part. The Tzurba now deals with, on page 134, what foods are to be used for the Erev Tavshilin. Okay, so we all know, what do we take? Egg and hard-boiled egg and a matzah, right? That's what most people use, or loaf or bread. Let's see what the Gemara says. So there's the same Mishnah that we just dealt with. The Mishnah continues and says as follows: Beit Shammai Omrim. Beit Shammai says you need shnei tavshilin. You need 2 cooked foods. That's what Beit Shammai says. Ubeit Hillel Omrim tavshil echad. All what you need is 1 tavshil. V'shavin bedag uveitza she'alav. They agree that an Erev may be established with a dish of a fish broiled with egg spread on it. Shehen shenei tavshilin, because they are 2 tavshilin. Okay, so you have food that's cooked with 2 types of things inside. Even Beit Shammai would say that this is 2 foods. So it comes out the Mishnah Machoke Beit Shammai Beit Hillel. How many cooked foods do I need? Bet Shammai says 2. Bet Hillel says 1. So what's for us? What's the din la'alacha? Bet Hillel, so how many cooked food do I need? 1. Mishnah did not say anything about bread. So where does bread come in? Where's the bread coming from? So take a look at the Tosafot. Tosafot says, Tosafot says, we know the halacha is according to the time of our Mishnah and according to the Bet Hillel. Bet Hillel. When it comes to baking, tzarech la'arev gam bepat. The Rebbeinu Tam says, listen, there's a little difference between baking and cooking. The tafshil is the tafshil. It's for cooking. When I'm coming to baking, I need to use a bread. And he brings the Gemara that we saw already earlier. Rabbi Eliezer was saying, he was bringing psukim that shows where you learned Erev Tafshilin from. And if you want to look back in source 23 on page 127, Rabbi Eliezer says, is this the one? No, that's not the one. Hold on. It's 17a. There's a Gemara there that says about. Here we go. Hold on. Oh.
Yeah, it says 127.
Here we go. Here it goes. 1 second. He had a pasuk in the Torah that says you should prepare for Shabbat. What you cook, and what you bake, you bake. There's a pasuk in the Torah that says, yeah, that's what it says in the Torah. So based on that, Rabbi Eliezer says, and he brings it from pasukim. So therefore, it says Tosfot, since the pasuk itself says bake and cook as separate statements, if you want to bake for Yom Shabbat, you have to also put a piece of bread. That's where the piece of bread comes from. So says the Rabbeinu Yitzchak. Rabbeinu Yitzchak says, this is not right. It's not. Why? The Gemara that's such a really Eliezer above is not because Allah is according to the position. Rather, the Gemara was, bringing asmachtas. It was bringing asmachtas to Erev Tafshilin. It has nothing to do with the actual halacha. Truth is, Rabbi Eliezer was put in cherem, and we don't go according to him. Okay? Makol Makam Omari says the Ri on page 135, Lo milani libi la'avor al divrei dodi. The Ri was the nephew of the Rebbeinu Tam, and he said, I don't have it in my heart to go against my uncle. V'tzarech shnei tavshilin pat v'tavshil v'chein amma davar. And so stands the practice. So Rebbeinu Tam explained the practice that it should be with bread in order for it to be allowed baking, and that became the minhag of Klal Yisrael to do it with bread.
Bread or cake or cookie something? No, or it's supposed to be bread.
Looks like he's saying it should be. So what he's saying? Use something similar to bread, right? Okay, so that is the Tosafot. Look at the Shulchan Aruch in source 36 on page 135. Eruv ze osin oto bepat v'tavshil. It's done with bread and a cooked food. Ve'imlo asu ela mitavshil levad. But if it was only used with a cooked food, and you did not put bread, mutar. It will be mutar. Because what was the Mishnah? Mishnah said only tafshil. Tosafot said you should put the bread based on psukim, based on Eliezer. So lechatchila, you should use bread and a cooked food. B'diavad, if you use just a cooked food, you're good. If you use just bread, we'll see in a minute. Okay, take a look in the Mishnah Brura. Yes,
good question. I said Rabbi Eliezer was excommunicated. Wasn't it because of the argument with the Chachamim, not with Rabbi Yeshua, about insulation in the ground, about something about a pot?
About the oven, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, about the oven, yeah. It wasn't because of this discussion that we're having.
Yeah. No,
Or they just bringing it down,
is a separate case, and then he says Rabbi Yeshua disputes him in the Yerushalmi, and says that one may bake and cook, just by for something, just by a tafshil, right? Okay, Mishnah Berurah, source 37, says as one needs to bake and cook on Yom Tov, therefore one should prepare the erev before Yom Tov using bread and a cooked food. But if one use only a cooked food, and this whole pot thing is extra, so therefore, if you did just the cooked food, it is permitted. If I know I'm not going to bake at all on Yom Tov for Shabbat, then I definitely don't need to put any bread at all, says Mishnah Berurah. The whole idea of putting the bread was because maybe baking is separate, Pasuk says it separately, so therefore I put a bread also. But if I know I'm not going to bake on Yom Tov, which I think most people are not baking on Yom Tov nowadays, right? But cooking, yeah, on the stovetop, yeah, but cooking in the oven, I don't think most people are baking in the oven. I don't think most people are doing that. But so technically, you don't need to use bread. Okay. Take a look at Zion. The last few lines over there, the last line on source 37, Zion. Then what? Lo mehani. It does not help at all. The guy wants to make Erev Tavshilin. He has the matzah. He don't have the hard-boiled egg. I have the matzah. I'll make it on the matzah. Doesn't help at all. There are different views. Lo mehani. Ve'im mahani lepat lechud yesh tov in the poskim v'achronim hiskim de lo mehani af lepat. The ikar ha'eruv itaken mitavshil. So maybe I'll say, you know what? I put the bread, so maybe I can bake. Because the whole bread was for the baking part. You're right, I really don't need it, but I did only the bread. So maybe I could bake with it. So the Mishnah Berurah says, the machoki poskim. If I only use bread, can I just bake on Yom Tov? Chacham Ovadia takes the lenient opinion, and I'm going to read it from the Yalkut Yosef English edition, and he says over here as follows. Some poskim rule that if he performed it using only bread, he may not cook or even bake. Other poskim rule that if he did just bread, he may at least bake for Shabbat. Since this issue is a safek d'Rabbanan lekula, so therefore you would be allowed to bake according to Chacham Ovadia. Okay, the other poskim that argue and say no, the whole erev only is done via the tafshil. The bread is an add-on. If you just did the add-on without the tafshil, you don't have an erev lamahani at all. And Chacham Ovadia says no, the bread is for baking, so we'll allow you to bake. So the main thing is the tafshil, is the cooked food, the hard-boiled egg, or whatever else can be eaten with bread. We'll see in a moment. That is the main thing to make sure you have for your erev. The bread, you have it, great. You don't have it, but you are still good. Okay.
So the bread or the matzah has to be done by the one who makes the eruv, or it could be bought from the store, the bread?
We'll see in a moment. It's better that the person makes it himself, but it could both be from the store. It's not a problem.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look in source 38, Rabotai. This is a Gemara that talks really about what can be used to make the eruv. So the Gemara here really is saying, just on the outside, just so you get, because I don't want to go through the whole Gemara. It's going to take time that we don't have. But on the outside, the Gemara is saying basically that something that is eaten with bread, that's what you can use as the tafshil. Because it has to be something that's not a regular food. It's not something that comes on a regular weekday. It has to be something that you use for Shabbat, your dips, right, and stuff like that. You usually use on Shabbat to honor Shabbat and stuff like that. That will make the heker. That will make the recognition. If it's regular food that I eat, that's just regular food that I eat, that won't work. It has to be something that has to be with bread.
If we cooked, or I can buy something ready.
So we'll see that in a minute. Just quickly read through the Gemara. I saw them tashma every yom tov. Rabbi lo shanu elo tavshel of a pot lo. You can use pot. My shanu pot deloy. What can I use pot? Let me the midday dimile pot milefet. Beina. I need something that I can. What's it called? Eat the bread with. Pot. You don't eat bread with bread. Therefore, you can't use bread. He said no. What is it needed? The loy shchiach bi'inon. You need something that's not common. Upat shchicha v'disa loy shchicha. And porridge is not shchiach. Therefore, you can use porridge. Porridge, you don't eat it as a dip with bread. Porridge is eaten separate. It's its own meal, right? Porridge. Manikasha. Farina.
Huh? Oatmeal.
Daisa?
Rice. Pudding.
One of the, some of the.
You know what?
Hot cereal, when they cook the oatmeal and stuff like that. So that's not eaten with the bread. But you need something like shchiach, so it would work. Then the other way of the Gemara is, no, the reason what I need is something that's not shchiach. And if it's eaten with bread, then it can't be used. Halacha l'maisa. Take a look at the Shulchan Aruch. Source 39. Sarich sheyeh tavshel zeh davar shehu roi lalefet bo et hapat. It's something that needs to accompany bread la'efuke daisa in order to exclude porridge. Okay, daisa is not to be used. It has to be something that accompanies bread. Something I eat bread with.
If I put bread in it, it's okay.
Okay.
But you're not cooking hummus.
Okay, so you're saying a couple of good things. Let's take a look outside the Tzurba for a moment. He brings here some examples of what could be used. So he brings some Mishnah Berurah and Kavahayim, roasted or cooked meat or chicken, smoked food, such as smoked fish and meat, which are smoked enough to be eaten. Those are good to be used. Pickled foods are subject to debate, preferably not should be used. Foods that are not acceptable, porridge or oatmeal, uncooked canned foods are not eaten with bread. And rice or pasta cannot be used. Foods that are only salted and not pickled. If one is using an egg, okay, make sure that it's not unpeeled, okay? Dairy products is another question. So there has to be something that is used to eat with bread. I eat lox with bread. I eat chicken with my bread. I eat meat with bread. Chamavadia and the Chazon Avadia says, since we have no, you don't eat pizza with bread. No, so dairy products are questionable. Dairy products are questionable. Adds that since we have refrigerators, Chazon Avadia says, since we have refrigerators that can keep the food fresh for extended periods of time, one should preferably use a more prominent food, such as a cooked meat or fish, as a tafshel in the air. So Chamavadia wants you to use a chashav chaticha roi, right?
Eating egg with bread.
Yeah.
Well, you don't eat regular bread. Everybody eats egg with bread. Sure. You never had a hard-boiled egg sandwich? You're missing out, my friend.
No, the hard boiled egg you eat with bread.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah. Okay. So those are the foods that should or can be used.
So the egg has to be peeled?
Well, the egg should not be peeled.
It should be covered with the cover.
Yeah, because you can't leave unpeeled eggs overnight. So you don't want to peel it. 1 second. Halacha 7 over here. Chamavadia and the Ravitz Yosef and the Alkid Yosef says, here are some other things. One may use a can of tomato sauce or pickles, since it is cooked food that is sometimes used as a spread. One may even use the boiled apple or jam. Dips are good. Yeah. Something that you eat with the bread. Whatever the food is, it must be one fit to be eaten with bread. Therefore, no cooked oatmeal, cream of wheat, or porridge, since the foods are not eaten with bread. Rice, peas, beans, pasta, these type of things are not eaten with bread. They cannot be used for Erev Tavshin.
Peanut butter is good?
pasteurized stuff, milks are probably.
Peanut butter.
Is it cooked?
No.
Why peanut butter is usually cooked?
No. Fried peanuts.
If it's cooked and you eat it with bread, you can use it. What?
But it's not kosher.
What's not? Beans are its own meal. It's like pasta. It's like rice. It's its own thing. I don't need to eat it with meat. I don't need to eat it with bread. Well, why not? As long as you can ascertain it's a cooked food. They cook the chickpeas. If they cook the chickpeas, and then you can use it. I think it's cooked. I'm not sure. You have to see if it's cooked. That's the thing. It has to be cooked and it has to be eaten with bread. Once you can ascertain that, that's it.
Варишь chickpeas, варишь.
Chicken, don't think raw chicken.
Или покупаешь готовый
You
кен.
don't cook the hummus once.
Потом
You cook
что-то
it. That's fine. If it's a cooked tafshil and it's something that's eaten with the bread, that's fine. So the Bishop Brewer brings down meat, fish, eggs, other cooked foods that usually accompany bread. The Maharil will leave the meat on the plate and not on the bread. Some people think they have to put it together, the matzah and the egg together, or you have to. So he says if you eat a piece of meat and you put the meat next to the bread, it's going to soak the bread, and the bread's not going to be able to be eaten afterwards. All right. So then you separate them. This past Yom Tov, what's it called? I didn't have a hard-boiled egg, so I took something else that's eaten with. I took a cooked carrot. Okay, sometimes you cook carrot with bread. Fine, something that you eat together. But I said I took a cooked carrot with the bread. It's gonna mess up the bread. So I put it in a separate baggie, and then I put that separately. And this way, you said you can put the meat in the fridge. You have to have the Erev Tavshilin has to be around. You have to make sure you know where it is. It should be around, but not necessarily, says the Maharil over here, you have to you can leave the meat on the plate and not on the bread to avoid unsealingness. He would also take a whole loaf of bread and will later use it for lechem mishnah and cut it at the third Shabbat meal. And since one mitzvah was performed with it, another mitzvah should also be performed with it. So it's preferable that you eat your Erev Tavshilin at Sudah Shelishi. You don't have to eat it. You have to have it. But it's better to start in a mitzvah, so you continue it with another mitzvah.
It's a mitzvah to eat Erev Tavshilin.
Since you started the mitzvah, so use it to eat as well.
But that's a mitzvah.
That's what he's saying.
If you forgot, you didn't eat. It's okay.
Mishnah Berurah brings that down to eat it. The lechem mishnah brings it from the Maharil. That was his minhag. The kivan dit avid be mitzvah hada, lit avid be mitzvah hlina. Since you did one mitzvah with it, do another mitzvah with it and eat it for Sudah Shelishi.
סעודה שלישית זה מצווה. אבל העירוב תבשילין לאכול אותו בזמן
There's no hiyuv to eat it.
Oh.
But since you did one mitzvah with it, go ahead and do another mitzvah with it. Like people take the wicks of the Hanukkah and they use it to start the fire for Pesach, right? For the Hametz burning. It's basically I start one mitzvah, I use it for another mitzvah, okay? And it says in Mishnah Berurah, Mishum Hider mitzvah, Yikach lechem shalem, v'chatichat basar adagim chashuva. Take a full loaf of bread and take a nice piece of meat or chicken and or fish and use that for your what's it called? For your Erev Tavshilin.
The salami is good.
It's cooked meat. Why not? Yeah. It's cooked. It's meat. It's good. You eat it with bread. You eat it with bread. It's cooked and it's eaten with bread. You can use it. That's the criteria. Okay. Amar Rabbi Abba. This is another Gemara. Erev Tavshilin tzrichen kezayit. You have to have a kezayit. The size, the amount you have to have of the Erev Tavshilin is a kezayit. Ibailu kezayit echad lekulan or dilma kezayit lechol echad ve'echad. When you said I need Erev Tavshilin, you have a kezayit. Is that a kezayit for every person, or is that a kezayit for the whole family? 27 grams or 18 grams. Do I need one Erev Tavshilin of 27 grams, 18 grams, or I need for every single person?
Not enough for one.
Tashma, the Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rav, Erev Tavshilin, tzrichen kezayit. All what you need is a kezayit. Ben le'echad, ben le'me'ah.
You won't have to eat it Only Kazai doesn't have to be by every.
Right, because it's a hacker, it's a reminder, it's preparing beforehand. The Raviyah, he says, interestingly, he brings down a Yerushalmi. The editors of the English edition and source and footnote 27 on page 138, they said this Yerushalmi does not appear in our versions of the Yerushalmi, but the Raviyah had this Yerushalmi that said, Erev Tavshilin, Kachen, this is what it would be, Michel Pat, when using the bread, kibitza. You should use a bitza of bread, 54 grams of bread. But tavshil kizai. But the tavshil should be a kizai. And he says, first of all, this Yerushalmi is arguing with our Gemara. Because our Gemara says all you need is a tavshil, just one cooked food. You don't need no bread. And when our Gemara talks about it, it says only kizai. It never even mentions kibetza. And the Shulchan Aruch brings down the halacha. Shir tavshil zeh kizai ben leechad ben lealpayim ben b'tchilato ben b'sofo. And the Ramah says v'yesh matzrichel lechatchila b'pat kibetza v'chein nohagin lechatchila. And says the Yalkut Yosef very similarly. He says v'tov lachmir lahaniach pat ha'eruv kishiur b'tza. You should use the shiur for the bread.
What do you read it?
I'm reading outside the Tzurba now in the Yalkut Yosef.
Oh.
He says, "V'tov lachmir lahaniach pat ha'eruv kishiur b'tza." So it turns out the bread, which is really an add-on, because Gemara Bavli does not say to use it, which Tosfot says because baking is separate. So use bread. Bread, you should use 54 grams of bread. The tafshil, which is the ikar hadin, now you can get away with the gezayit. So it was interesting halacha, but halacha l'maaseh, Rabotai, we said if a person only did the tafshil, it works for everything. If he didn't put the bread, he just put the cooked food and he made his erev, it works for everything.
Just one piece.
If he used just the bread, that only works for baking, according to Chumavaji and those who are makel. According to others, it doesn't work for anything. How much you need to put? Tafshil, kizayit, kibetza. A kibetza of pot is better. If you put a kizayit, also fine. If you didn't put it at all, it is also workable. Fine. Now, what was your question? Fine.
So,
now,
question.
Mhm.
So if they didn't eat it the whole Shabbat, it's okay? The
you
arrow.
don't have to eat it.
You don't have to eat it, so there's no
Don't have to eat
responsibility. And now back to the egg. If it's a little bit cracked, what's the story then? Not unpeeled, but cracked. What do you do with those eggs?
It's fine.
It's fine. Oh, okay.
By mistake, they ate Eruv Tavshilin before Shabbat.
That's a problem.
Wow.
Your Erev Tavshilin has to be intact when you are doing the cooking for Yom Tov, from Yom Tov to Shabbat. So if your Erev Tavshilin goes missing, you're in a problem. You're in a problem.
The whole thing they ate, or left?
It's gone.
The whole thing, only one
Hey,
egg and one piece of
Avner
matzah.
made.
It's open and ate. And I'm looking.
His kids came home. They wanted to eat. They saw here a sandwich ready. There's a bread and a hot egg. They made the sandwich. Ate it. Now he has no Erev. He's in a dilemma.
Can I rely on the rabbi?
Yeah. Always rely on the rabbi. Hey, rabbi, take care of you. Don't worry. The rabbi take care. You just give him a check afterwards, okay? All right, fine. Now, so this Rabotai is going back briefly to Gemara we saw in source 19 and 20. If anyone wants to turn back, source 19 and 20, which is really a Gemara Masechet Pesachim. So if you want to go back to page 125. So there was a machloket in the Gemara. If a person cooked on Yom Tov for the weekday, does he get makot or he doesn't get makot?
What's the question?
Person cooked on Yom Tov for weekday. Does he get makot or not? And it was machloket to give him lashes. So there was a machloket in the Gemara. Rabba Omer ena lokeh. Rabba says you don't give him makot. Rav Chizda says you give him makot. Why? What was the machlokes about? Do we say ho'il or not? What is ho'il? Ho'il is, listen, you're right, I cooked it on Yom Tov. But you know what? If my cousins came in, my family member, my friends walked in now, that food that I cooked for the weekday, I'm going to give them now. So since someone might show up, it's still Yom Tov available. So it's still a Yom Tov food. As such, he didn't do anything wrong. So you don't give him a makot because it is available to be used on Yom Tov.
But they use everything.
Hoil means like in case, right?
Since guests may happen. Rabbi Omer Enel, okay? Because he says, Omin Ho'il, we say someone might show up, therefore don't give him makot. Now Reb Chizda says, you give him makot because you don't hold this Ho'il. So comes Reb Chizda and he says, Amar Rabba Reb Chizda, Rabba, who says you don't give makot because you have Ho'il, he says to Reb Chizda, L'didach, the amart lo yamin Ho'il, you say you don't say Ho'il, ha'ech ofin mi Yom Tov l'Shabbat. How are you cooking from Yom Tov for Shabbat? If you say, I can cook on Yom Tov because someone might, come and I'll give him the food, I can understand cooking Yom Tov for Shabbat. But if you're not going to say Ho'il, then how do you cook from Yom Tov to Shabbat? So said Rav Chizda, what do you mean? I have Erev Tavshilin. Says Rabbah, Mishum Erev Tavshilin, Sharinan Isira Deoraita? I made a rabbinic Erev Tavshilin. Now I can do an Issa Deoraita to cook from Yom Tov for another day? So Amarle Midoraita Tzarchei Shabbat Na'asin B'Yom Tov. On a biblical level, I could make food from Yom Tov to Shabbat. And this whole Erev Tavshilin is a hacker that the Rabbanan wanted to put into place. But really, I don't even need it, according to Rav Chizda. According to Rav Chizda, I can cook on Yom Tov for Shabbat. That is a halacha deoraita. It's mutar. Okay? According to Rabbah, no. The only reason why I'm allowed to cook on Yom Tov for Shabbat is because I have the principle of Ho'il. Someone might show up, and I'm going to give him the food.
What's Ho'il?
Since. Because someone might come to my house, I'm going to give him the food that I cooked in Yom Tov. Therefore, I don't give him makot, and therefore I'm allowed to cook from Yom Tov to Shabbat because there's a principle of Ho'il. Rav Chizda says there is no Ho'il business here. If he cooked on Yom Tov for a weekday, you give him makot. You're allowed to cook on Yom Tov for Shabbat from the Torah point of view. So now, how does this machloket come into a practical, not just academic, a practical application for Erev Tavshilin? According to Rabbah, the whole heter is Ho'il. Since if I cook on Yom Tov, someone might come later and I'll give him the food on Yom Tov, therefore it's okay. And that's why I'm allowed to cook from Yom Tov for Shabbat. So therefore, according to Rabbah, when are you supposed to prepare your food on Friday for Shabbat? You would have to prepare it early in the day. So if someone would show up on Yom Tov, you would give it to him. According to Rabbah, the whole principle is Ho'il, that if I cooked on Yom Tov, someone might still come, and he gets it now today. So according to Rabbah, I have to cook my Shabbat stuff early on Friday. So if someone showed up Friday afternoon, it would be available for him. Whereas according to Rav Chizda, it's mutar legamre from the Torah to cook on Yom Tov for Shabbat. So I can cook the entire Friday, even the last second. Okay? So take a look here now in source 45, where we have the Tosafot. Tosafot says in the bottom over there, the Gemara speaks of one who removes honeycombs close to sunset, right? So he says here that even if the guests come, there will be no time remaining in the day to eat them. He's bringing Rav Chizda's opinion, the Magen Avraham. Magen Avraham, now, based on this Tosfot, based on what we explained already, he writes, if you're cooking close to the sunset, right?
Of Shabbat.
On Friday, because there's no way to say that guests are now going to eat. I'm cooking at sunset. What guests? No one's showing up on Yom Tov anymore. It's already the end of the day. So look at, you give him lashes. It's asur to cook for your Shabbat meal by sunset. The kibbutz shu isa d'oraita lo shari el al yedei ho'il. It's only permissible because of ho'il. Ho'il means someone's going to come later in the day. I'm going to give him the food. V'lechei nohagu k'shechal yom tov erev Shabbat makdimin leitpalel arvit. Therefore, in his area where he lived, they always prayed on on the Shabbat that falls after Yom Tov early. So this way, everyone's finished cooking early, so I can say the principle of Ho'il, the food is ready for someone on Yom Tov. The Biur Halacha, he says, Valkain, Nira, the Af Lechatchila, Bevadai, Tzarech Lizaher, Kedat, Kohani, there's rabbis that say that it's all based on Rabbah, that there is really a biblical prohibition, and the only thing that allows you is Ho'il. Mikol Makom, for source 47, Mikol Makom, B'Shas Hadchak, Yesh Lomar, the Kedai, Hem, Rabotena Rishonim, Ha'el, L'Samach Aleim, B'Inyan, Samuch L'Chashecha. So said the Biur Halacha, L'Chatchila, you should go like Rabbah, and the Rishonim who go like Rabbah. And he brings there, who's the Rishonim who go like Rabbah? You should do it early in the morning. Tosefot, Simag, Ramban, and there, who says like Rav Chizda? Rabbeinu Ephraim, the Me'or, and others say like Rav Chizda. So says the Biur Halacha, L'Chatchila, we should follow, do it early in the day. But if you didn't, you can do it even toward sunset because you have what to rely on. Again, it's the Rabbanan. So I'm just going to read to you outside in the Kut Yosef. He says as follows: by performing Erev Tavshilin, it's permissible to cook on Yom Tov for Shabbat. It is best to do all the cooking in the early hours of the day on Friday in such a manner that it'll be possible to serve it to guests who would show up unexpectedly on the afternoon of Yom Tov. Nevertheless, if for some reason someone was unable to cook for Shabbat until late in the afternoon, he may cook at that time. This is because we rely on the Rishonim who ruled according to Torah law. It's permissible to cook for Shabbat on Yom Tov that occurs on Friday. There is no isur at all, according to Ram Chizah. It's mutar legamre to cook. Chachamim just came and said, listen, you have to make Erev Tavshilin to remind us not to cook from Yom Tov to a regular day. So therefore, it's permitted to cook for Shabbat at any time on Friday, whether early or late in the afternoon. So here it comes out, L'Chatchila, when I had the Yom Tov, Friday, and Shabbat coming in, L'Chatchila, you tell the ladies, hello, if you're cooking for Shabbat, cook early in the day. Don't wait for the last minute. But if they waited for the last minute, you have what to be Somech Alav, you have Rav Chizda and the Rishonim who follow Rav Chizda. Okay? Fine. Now, what about, I have a 2-day Yom Tov, like we have here in Chutz La'aretz. We have a Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday, right? Friday night is already Shabbat. Can I prepare on Thursday for Shabbat, the day before?
2 days.
Right. So I'm not preparing on Friday, I'm preparing on Thursday. Can I do that? I made the Erev Tavshilin on a Wednesday, right? Before Yom Tov. So take a look at the Rosh. The Rosh says an interesting idea. Verse 48. He says, listen, Shnei Yomim Tovim Shechol Yot Chamishi V'Shishi Ein L'Shchot B'Yom Rishon L'Tzorach HaShabbat. You should not do any shechting or any preparing on the first day. Alpha Pisha Eruv, even though you made the Eruv. Devadai Yom Rishon Ikar. Says the Rosh, the first day is the real Yom Tov. V'Yom Tov Sheni El Mishum Gizerat Shmada. V'Kivan She'efshar Lo L'Shchot B'Sheni Shehu Kechol Lama Yishchot B'Rishon Shehu Vadai Kodesh. You hear the Rosh's opinion? The Rosh says, listen, we got a 2-day Yom Tov in Galiot, right? In Galus, we have 2-day Yom Tov. But we really know the first day is the main day. Second day is we do it. But you have to keep everything as is. But Malacha, really, in the end of the day, it's not as Kodesh as the first day. So why would you go and be Mevashel on the first day that's really Yom Tov for for Shabbos when you can do it on the next day when it's Yom Tov Sheni? And it's a less problem. What?
No.
The Yom Tov is Thursday, Friday. Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday. Can I cook on Thursday, Yom Tov Rishon, for Shabbat, which is a Thursday day? Thursday day. Because Erev Tavshilin, you only need it for Shabbat. Yeah, the deal with Erev Tavshilin. Can I cook on the first day of Yom Tov for Shabbat, which is a day in between? So the Rosh says, why do it on Yom Tov Rishon, which is more Kodesh? We could do Yom Tov Sheni, which is less Kodesh. But wait, now the Ran says, when you make an Erev Tavshilin, you're not allowed to bake. Miyom dechamesh l'shavta. The Shabbat kruva heteru al yedei eruv Shabbat rachoka lo heteru. When they only allowed you the day before. Nothing to do with Kodesh. Which day is more holier? The Ran says the whole principle of Erev Tavshilin was the day before, not 2 days before. The day before. That's when Erev Tavshilin works. Friday. It only works for Friday. Erev Tavshilin does not work for Thursday. That's the way it works.
Let me ask you a question.
For 1 day?
Yeah, just for Friday.
From Monday, this beautiful food for Shabbat. On Tuesday, this beautiful leg for Shabbat. How come I cannot prepare it?
I'm doing malacha. I'm not allowed to do malacha, extra malacha on Yom Tov that's not needed for Yom Tov. So we give you permission the day before for Shabbat. That's permission when you get to do it, not 2 days before. Shulchan Aruch says, take a look, halacha l'maisa Shulchan Aruch, source 50, Apal Pi, sheheniach erev, enu yachol l'vashel miyom tov rishon l'Shabbat. You cannot do it from Thursday, you cannot do it Yom Tov Rishon or Shabbat. You have to do it the day before.
You have a big family.
So the Magen Avraham deals with your case. Let's say if someone has he's got problems. Second day to be very hectic. The Shari la'afot u'levashel b'yom rishon. U'vat shedatu l'kach b'shat erev v'zet l'tam rishon. He says this is according to the Rosh, because the whole reason, because one day is more kodesh than the other, but really it does work for both days, just don't do it on the first day. But according to the Ran, it's never permissible on Thursday. It always has to be Friday. And the Mishnah Berurah says that. Says the Mishnah Berurah. It will not help. I don't care what circumstances you have it. Like the Ran, when the Ran said it only works for Friday. It does not work for Thursday. Says the Yalkut Yosef. Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef writes the halacha for Sfaradim. How does he say it? Halacha over here. The Erev permits one only to cook on Friday for Shabbat, but not on any earlier day. So we go like the Ran. Erev Tavshilin works for Friday only.
1 day. A question. Thursday, I make the food for Friday, and I have leftover. I'm allowed to eat it on Shabbat?
100%. 100%. Not a problem.
What? Yes or no?
Yes.
So actually, we're cooking from Thursday for Shabbat.
You said I cook for Yom Tov. I have leftovers. This is all my, Oh, yeah.
No, but it's cooked on a Thursday.
No problem. Cooking dafka for Shabbat.
So you have the title.
Dafka only for Shabbat can only be on Friday. The halacha is like the Ran. Shulchan Aruch says,
okay, I'm doing
he's back to his.
How come this one works here and it doesn't work?
What is you're talking to apples and oranges? That's on a regular weekday. This is for Shabbat. This is for Shabbat. This is for Shabbat. Okay, very beautiful. I'm talking about baking and cooking for stuff that are not for Yom Tov. I only can do malacha bishul on Yom Tov for Yom Tov. If I'm doing it for Shabbat, I cannot do it. I give you a leniency. I give you Erev Tavshilin. That's only going to work on Friday, says Ron. That's the way to look at it.
Don't make a barbecue on Thursday, making extra food intention for Shabbat.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
I can make my barbecue on Thursday and have extra food for Shabbat. If I say it purposely and stuff like that, that's a different problem. Yes. If I go and I prepare a barbecue, so I have barbecue for Shabbat, I cannot do that on Thursday.
So let's say you have enough.
Don't mention that, please.
Pick the barbecue on Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's so much food that it's enough that it's obvious that it's not going to be for Thursday. You're making enough really that it covers.
Yeah, but don't mention that.
No, you want to put aside delicacy.
No, you mentioned it. I'm gonna cook now and for
on Yom Tov, I can always cook. If it's the same, I'm putting everything in the pot, whatever it is. It's all the same thing, right? I'm just doing it. I'm just making a bunch of food. That's always fine. No matter if I have extra or stuff like that. As long as I'm not dafka doing it for that thing.
But if you have leftover,
Look the scenario. You shechted the animal.
Yeah.
So certain part of delicacy you left aside for Shabbat. Even though you cooking it on Thursday on Yom Tov, because you have to do it, otherwise you're gonna get spoiled. So you bring out, let's say,
No,
for Shabbat.
refrigerator. Come on.
I'm making it for Yom Tov, and I'm saving it
I
for
check
Shabbat.
it for on Yom Tov.
Yeah,
And saving certain parts of the animal for Shabbat.
I don't know what you're doing.
That's fine.
If you're doing it, if you're doing it on Thursday for Shabbat, you can't do it. If you're doing it Thursday for Yom Tov and you have leftovers, beautiful,
You have leftover,
perfect.
perfect.
And I can even add extra if it's going to enhance the flavor, and I don't mention it, and it's just agav happening. That's fine, right? You know how many burgers you're gonna eat, Dafka? You know how many burgers you're gonna eat? I know every time I make a barbecue, I always make a bunch of burgers. Sometimes they all get eaten, sometimes they don't all get eaten. I'm not. If you're doing it, Dafka, I need 8 burgers on Shabbat. That you can't.
I think between, let's say, 10 and 15 burgers on one day. I'm making 30 burgers, 40 burgers.
Are you doing it, Dafka, for Shabbat? If you can say, "Oh, yo, someone might come. My guest might want to go," you have what to rely on. But if I'm Dafka doing it for Shabbat, then that's a problem. You can't do that.
No, he doesn't waste.
But that's okay. Fine.
He doesn't want to waste time.
I have 5 minutes, and I have 10 pages. I don't think it's going to happen.
But he's right. You don't want to waste the whole hamburger, so you cook it. But you know, in your mind, it's not for Shabbat. If somebody come, I have.
So no problem. That's not a problem.
Okay, so you don't have to mention to anybody.
If I
In
put
your
a,
mind is to save the meat that you have, and you cook it.
I'm cooking it,
That's all.
and anyone can eat it on Yom Tov. That's it.
Okay, it's left over for Shabbat.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
I can always put more and more as long as I'm not Dafka doing it.
I have look forward. People come outside. I mean, I need to know.
Listen, once you make a barbecue, people are already coming. They smell it.
Don't bring your dog.
Okay. Uday, let's take a look at the next section. We're on page 143. How does one make the eruv? Okay. Says the Shulchan Aruch in source 43. Umevarach al mitzvat eruv. Shekerisham tzivanu al mitzvat eruv. And then he says the statement. Bedin shari lan la fuye lo b'shulei ul atmune, and to uladluke, and to light the shraga, a candle, umulavet kol tzerchana miyom tov l'shabbat, and to do all the work you need to do from Yom Tov to Shabbat. So he should say the bracha and make that statement. It says the Ramah. Someone doesn't know how to say Lashon Kodesh. He can say it in any language he understands. So, says the Mishnah Berurah, not that he could say it in any language he understands. He has to say it in the language he understands. So, the only problem with this is that mean that I need to say the statement? If I didn't say the statement, it doesn't work. Says the Ramah elsewhere, and he didn't say which malachot he's going to do. It's as if he did not prepare an erev at all. According to the Ramah, you have to say it, and you have to mention everything. You have to say the part that says what I'm going to do. You have to. If you didn't do it, you didn't do it at all. However, others argue, and they say that no. V'yesh cholkim, so in source 56, v'yesh cholkim, alikar dinzeh, v'svir, they hold that what? That this amira, shabahadin, enu rak l'mitzvah l'chatchila, ala b'di avad, kiven she'aniach hatavshel, l'shem erev, afilu lo amr, kla nusach shabahadin, enu me'akev. It says the Mishnah Berurah, there is an opinion that even if I didn't say anything, it's going to work. Halacha l'maaseh, the Yalkut Yosef writes that if someone designated food for use as the Erev Tavshilin, so I went and I prepared the egg and the bread, intending to make the bracha, and make the proper declaration on it, but then he forgot to do it. I prepared the egg and the bread, but I didn't make the bracha.
He had intention.
I did it. In this case, he did it. He put the bread and the egg together. He just, what's it called, didn't say the bracha or anything like that. Then Erev is an Eruv. This is unlike the Ramah who says, the Mishnah and the Ramah who said you have to actually say the whole thing. What happens if he realizes he forgot while he's still home? Before sunset of the day, he must take the food in his hands and recite the blessing and the declaration. If someone recited the blessing, but he forgot to make the declaration, he must not say the bracha a second time. He should only take the food in his hands and make the declaration at this time. So halacha l'maaseh, not the bracha and not the declaration is me'akev. All I need to do is to prepare the hard-boiled egg or whatever tafshil I'm using with the bread. I didn't even put the bread. I just have the tafshil. That's the ikar din. Okay, so we're gonna we have minyan. No, we don't have minyan yet.
Freeze the bread to the matzah. Freeze the bread.
Can you use frozen bread? Yes. You can use right. Right. Personally, I use matzah also because that's the more simple one. But I just wanted to just a final review. The ikar, the Erev tafshilin, is the tafshil. A kazait of tafshil. You designated a kazait of tafshil. You didn't do anything else. That works there as tafshilin. Okay. You should prepare it with the beitza of bread. You should make the bracha and the declaration afterwards. But if you didn't, it still works. Okay.